So we asked Anna to tell us more about the work of the MST, the Landless Workers Movement. How do folks come together and start an encampment? What tasks do they do weekly or monthly in their base groups? And tell us about the struggle for permanent settlement. How does this relate to the larger needs of popular agrarian reform, which is what they're fighting for? How does the struggle for popular agrarian reform address the needs of landless workers in Brazil for housing and healthcare?
I have some image here. I know it's far from you, but it will also helps me guide my what I'm going to say. So, hello again. I'm Anna from MST Brazil, which is the Landless Rural Workers Movement. And for us, this name, Landless, had become an identity. So it's more than just a condition of having no land, but it's also a political and social identity. So it means that now I'm no longer a landless people, but I continue to identify myself as landless. In the idea that I continue in the struggle because there's still a lot of land concentration in Brazil. For you to know, 1% of the landowners own more than 50% of all the lands. And there's a big part of around 5 million people who are still considered landless, who don't have access. So there's still a very, very big inequality in Brazil connecting with land, and land is one of the sources of injustice, social injustice. So since the beginning that the movement was organized, people were saying, oh, of course, but when I get my land, should I continue to be a landless or not? And it was a decision. No, we are a movement of landless people because we want to continue to struggle against injustice and to build a social transformation. So that's important for us. And our main slogan is to fight, to build people's agrarian reform or popular agrarian reform, because we believe we are building it. It's not something that we know where we're going to get. It's something that is in a process and really depends on getting together more and more people so we can overcome this injustice. And so, very briefly, land is not a commodity for profit. Land is the vital foundation of human life. So, for us, it's very important. Although the majority of the population in Brazil now lives in the cities, but we really believe that we have a connection with land, and the main part of things, well, food comes from there. If we don't have food and water, we cannot survive. So for us, it's very important to keep this in the mind of everybody, that land cannot be a commodity. And so very quickly, how MST organizes itself? Well, we do a grassroots work. We have some people who have this task of going to, especially to the countryside, to where we know there's a lot of people who want to work on land, but they don't have the chance to buy a land, or even some people who work in big farms, but in a very bad conditions. So we try to make meetings with them, explaining that we can change that situation if we get together and have make a struggle to get everybody together. And then our main way of struggling until today is to do land occupations. And because there are some particular things in the Brazilian law that says that if the land is not having a social function, it should be redistributed to agrarian reform. So doing a land occupation is not that we're going to stay exactly in that land, but it's a way of calling the attention of all the politicians and the government. So it had worked until now. But yes, it needs to be a massive work. You need to also make, connections with society so they support you, because it could have a lot of violence from police or even from the landowners and the paramilitaries and all that. So we organize the families and we look to where there's land that can be occupied to make a settlement, and then we do that occupation. I think it has could be very massive, like around 3,000 people, or could be less. It really depends. And then when we enter this land, usually we organize ourselves in base groups to organize the daily life. So there's people who need to be, like in making security for all the group. There's people, the first thing we organize is like kitchen and school for the kids. Because we are a movement of families, so we understand that we cannot bring the kids if they don't have a space so they can learn and also be cared of and all that. So we start to organize the kitchen to have the meals, the school, the health kind of department, team at least, to help people who have some kind of health need. And then we start to build it would be like tents, with plastic, and so people can spend the night and organize all the life. So we usually have like base groups of 10 families who are nearby, like the neighbors in the encampment, and to organize all these tasks. But we also have some specific tasks that we have teams, because they need some people need to learn how to do some specific things, even like security or all that. So we need to organize also these teams. So some data, now this is South America, here is Brazil, and in Brazil we have 27 states, and we are organizing 24, so we are a national movement.
Wow.
That is really very, very important, because we have complete now 43 years of existence, and we have completely, we are sure that if we are not a national movement, we didn't exist anymore, because the repression was so high. So we need to build like this national identity. Even for songs, yesterday we were talking about sound leading. Songs were very important to build this unity. Also our symbols, our flag. So since the beginning we tried to build some symbols that can represent us, and that even people see them and say, okay, there's the Landless there. So, okay, here. And so the idea, you cannot see it, but I can even send this. This is like an encampment with all the tents and all that. And then the idea is that we make this pressure to the government, and they could make these settlements. The settlements that we call are public land, but people have the possibility of using it. It's a concession of use. I don't know, like a translation. So you can use it, even your family can use it after you, but you cannot sell it or rent it or nothing. So it's to ensure that those who go to a project like this go to work on land and produce food and all that, and not to make speculation or things like that. But then we realized not just land is not enough, so we need to have good houses, we need to have the infrastructure to arrive there, we need to have schools, we need to have healthcare, because it's in Brazil, the countryside is kind of, we don't know what's happening there. There are some poor people and some folks and things like that. So we need to do all this work of saying, no, there are people who live there. It's important also, and we are a very important part of the society because we produce food and all that. So a part of our struggle is also make pressure, going to the education department, to health department, to housing department, everything to ask for the public infrastructures, because in Brazil, a big part of health system is public and also housing. So we have some credits for your house and all that. So the idea is to transform the settlement in a good place to live. So here are some photos of housing, of the people's clinics and all that stuff. So some number, now we are around 450,000 families organized in MST, which is around 1.5 million people. We don't know it. But yeah, and then on these 42 years, we we have organized also our work. We organize it in cooperatives, so we have like 155 cooperatives and a lot of associations, all that. The idea is that also the agricultural work is not, people sometimes think that, oh, people just want to make like a very simple agriculture. And the idea is, no, it's also to add technology, knowledge. So agroecology for us, it's a way to combine traditional knowledge from the original people, from the African, Brazilian people, but also with technology that we produce. And so that's why we struggle also for schools, public schools, to our youth can go to the university. We have a specific program. How we organize very quickly. Our main space to make decisions and to change anything that we need to change is our National Congress. The last one was 10 years ago. We are struggling to do another one. It's not being easy, but we were like 60,000 people in there. Like it's like the biggest meeting. But then we have like the national meetings, the regional meetings, the local meetings, until the base groups, where it needs to be, like the most part of the decisions need to be made there, and then there are the coordinations to go. It's like up and down and our organizational principles: collective leadership, connection with the grassroots, division and distribution of tasks, planning and evaluating, study, discipline, professionalism, if you have one task, you need to do it the best you can, and criticism and self-criticism, has to do with evaluating all the process that we are part. And then we organize all this work also in sector and collective. So we have education, training, we have health, human rights, culture, internationalism. So we have brigades of people from MST in 8 countries doing some solidarity work in Zambia, in Haiti, in Cuba. So there's also, it's very important for us to share and also to learn from other countries. 3 minutes. So water, forests, minerals, and biodiversity are not commodities, as I was saying, and this is our biggest struggle now against agribusiness. When we began 40 years ago, it was against the landowners and the big farms who had nothing. But now it's like the big companies, external companies. The money goes all out to companies here in the United States, in Europe, and all that. And it's not just this difference of strength that we have with them, but it's also because they produce in a very intensive way, with pesticides, with monoculture, with all that. So it even kind of affects the work we do. In some settlements, people are surrounded by agribusiness companies, so they can even produce organic because they are affected by the wind who brings all that. So now we are doing a project of popular agrarian reform because it connects all this, and it also has a big connection with people in city, because if we don't produce healthy food, people won't have access to it, because agribusiness doesn't produce food, or not even healthy food. So the idea is that people's agrarian reform has a lot of pillars. Solidarity is one, health is another one, culture and art, agroecology, technology, and nowadays, especially, we are doing like a big issue on taking care of nature together with human beings. So we are planting a lot of trees. We are trying to recover the pounds of waters, and making through this a dialogue with the urban people, saying we are doing our part, struggling in the countryside, but we can support you on organizing your struggles for housing, for education especially. And so we have a lot of partnerships, and also we are part of People's Fronts, who organize different social movements, and so this is our program. Okay, so we aim to achieve human emancipation. That's the core of our project in the producing of healthy food for all people, combined with the care for the commons. And this is the only possibility through nonviolent relations, free from exploitation and all forms of domination. So this is part of our program. And we truly believe that now all forms of life in our planet are at risk, so we need to both take care of nature and the human beings together. And just to finish, a quote from Bebhinn, which was the president of Uruguay for many years, also a fighter for democracy. He say, when we fight for the environment, we must have in mind that the first element of the environment is called humans. So it's on that struggle that we are. And thank you so much again for having the opportunity.
Thank you.